Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon even, and welcome to the Perth Common Good Fund Committee for Monday the 25th of November. I think we are all here. We have apologies from the Council Leader, Councillor Grant Lang, and we have Councillor Sheila McCole attending online. Other than that, we're all in the chamber, I think. Sheila, can you confirm you can hear us all?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, we'll move on. And do we have any declarations of interest in respect of today's business? Sorry, Ian, Councillor Ian Massey.
Thank you. I have a declaration of interest in item 713 as a trustee of Buttons and Bows.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on then, we move to item 3, the minutes of the meeting of the Perth Common Good Fund of the 29th of, it was actually August, wasn't it? All of a sudden I'm confused. Do we have any matters arising from the last meeting of the Common Good Fund? I'm not sure whether that's just a date we've got wrong there or whether we have the wrong paper. Okay, okay, for some reason I've got a reference to the 29th of April. Regardless, are there any matters arising from the last meeting in August? Okay, no, thank you very much. In that case, we will move on to item 5, which is the applications for financial assistance. And looking first at the proposals for small grants, we have the first one is the Wednesday Tea Dance Club are seeking £530 towards their Christmas party. The Tea Dance Club provides social dancing for elderly people and aim to provide company and fun for those who live alone and those on a limited income. They provide a relaxing and friendly atmosphere for people to come together and meet new friends. The papers suggest that a grant of £350 is consistent with the criteria that guide us, but this is a small grant. I think it's the sort of thing that we should be supporting, and I would be happy to propose that we make a grant for the full amount that they're looking for of £530. Do I have a seconder for that, and can we proceed on that basis?
I'd be happy to second that.
Thank you. Okay, we have a seconder. Bailey Chris Ahern, your amendment.
Yes, I'm happy to go with the criteria of 9.6, which is allocation of £10 per person. And I therefore go for the 350 because when you look at what's been requested, I don't think we should be paying for gratitudes to staff. So I don't think that should be included in the calculations. So I'm happy to go with the what's recommended of 350.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Peter Barrett.
Yeah,
okay.
happy to second that.
Okay, thank you very much. In that case, does anyone else wish to make comment or question? No. In that case, Adam, we'll move to a vote on that one if we may.
Thanks, convener. We have a motion proposed by yourself, seconded by Councillor McCall, which is to award the full amount of £530. We have an amendment by Bailey Ahern, seconded by Councillor Peter Barrett, which is to award the £350. Members, when I call your name, if you can just indicate whether you're voting for the motion or the amendment. Bailey Ahern.
Amendment.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Chan. Councillor Donaldson. Okay, abstain, no problem. Councillor Drysdale.
Amendment.
Councillor McPherson.
Motion.
Councillor Mayor,
Motion.
Councillor Massey,
Amendment.
Councillor McCall,
Motion.
Deputy Provost Parrott,
Motion.
and finally Councillor Rebecca. Thanks, convener. We have 5 votes for the motion, 6 votes for the amendment with 1 abstention. Therefore, the amendment will carry.
Thank you very much for that. We now move on to the Servite Housing Tenants Group. And the Servite Housing Tenants Group of Canal Street, Perth are seeking a grant of £300 to contribute towards their Christmas party. I don't think we need to say anything more than that. Again, it's considered that the grant of £300 is consistent with criteria 9.6, and I'm happy to recommend that we make that payment of £300. Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Peter Barrett, Councillor Peter Barrett, thank you. Do we have any amendment in respect to this one? Can we agree that proposal? Thank you very much. Moving on to the third one, we have a request from St John's Kirk of Perth, are requesting £4,500, which is an additional £2,500 to the yearly amount of £2,000 that we set aside to support the playing of the carillon. Councillor Bailey-Hearn, you have a question? Sorry.
Yes, thank you. I looked back over the last 3 years, or in fact, longer than that, going back to 2019 in the applications. And 2019 was 1,500, 2022 was 2,000, and 2024, January this year was 2,000, and we fully funded every single one of those. Is this an event that the council are funding, or the Common Good are funding, or is this an event that's being put on by St John's Kirk? And part of the one of the applications, and I cannot see in the applications for this grant or whether it was a different one, was the fact that they sell CDs and they requested money. And a part of that, I asked how much money they're making from it, and does that go forward to put the carillons on? I'm just concerned that we are fully funding an event for another organisation which they don't seem to be funding themselves.
No, thanks for that, Bailey Hearn. This is something that, as far as I'm aware, is entirely, if you like, the province of St John's Kirk. I'm not sure. It's now quite some time since the CDs were produced, so I'm not sure entirely what the outcome was here. But moving on with this application, my proposal in this case, I think we have in the past provided ample support to St John's Kirk and the carillon, and my proposal on this occasion would be we limit the grant to the £2,000 that we have made available year by, or have decided to make available year by year. Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Massey, is there any amendment to that? Okay, Sheila, please come in.
Yeah, I was just really going to, excuse me, I was just going to say that I don't think we should fund them any more than they already have. And in fact, I seem to recall at one point we have suggested to St John's Kirk, not just for this, but for some other applications, that they need to show some evidence of their own fundraising for these things. Because I think Councillor Hearn is correct, we're not here to fund that. And I also would like to understand, how can they demonstrate the benefit? Because most people I speak to don't know what the carillon is and wouldn't have a clue if it was being played. So I'm not sure that the numbers that they have in there in 5.13 is, I would like to know how they calculate those numbers.
No, thank you for that, Councillor McCall. I agree with you. I think we have supported St John's Kirk and the carillon specifically in good measure in the past, and as I just said, I'm happy that we continue to make available at the moment the £2,000 that we've set aside annually, but I don't think we should extend any further funds towards them at the moment. Are we happy to proceed on that basis? Councillor Peter Barrett, you have a comment.
Yeah, thanks, convener. I'm content to go with the motion. I did have some questions with regard to the last lines of the paragraph and the training for future Carillionaires. I think that's still something that we do need to consider, but I would only want to do that on the basis of a more detailed training plan with costings as to what that might achieve. So I think that might be something useful to look at in the future, but I think sticking to the current programme of 14 recitals a year is I think still a major contribution from this council to the animation of our city centre and complements the Perth Museum and Art Gallery as well. Thank you.
No, thank you for that. I do agree with you. I do think that, you know, the Carillon is a historic part of the fabric of the city. There is only so far that we can go. I did actually end up looking at the British Society of Carillionaires website and their presence on the internet and others with respect to this application. And I do actually think that actually St John's Kirk might look further afield in terms of finding support and backing for some of the things they're doing in this respect. I think there, if I may, there is perhaps an assumption from them that we will support them in everything, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily appropriate. Thanks. Okay, in that case, are we happy to proceed on the basis that we will make available to them the £2,000 set aside annually? Agreed. Thank you very much. We now move on to Inchview Primary School, P7 residential. Inchview Primary School are requesting a grant of £1,000 towards the cost of their primary 7 residential trip. Each year, the P7 pupils go on a residential trip to Loch Inch Outdoor Centre to experience activities they would not otherwise take part in. Activities include water sports, skiing and snowboarding, and it's hoped that the children learn skills such as leadership, communication and resilience by taking part. I am happy to recommend that we make that grant of £1,000. Do I have a seconder for that? Take Bailey Ahern. Is there any amendment in respect to this proposal? No. Can we agree that proposal? Thank you very much. We now move on to Bertha Park High School Parent Angle. Bertha Park High School Parent Angle are applying for a grant of £1,534 to support the intensive support provision, pupils with swimming lessons and life skills sessions. I am happy in this case for these youngsters who do have complex needs. I believe that this is the sort of thing that we should be seeking to assist, and I would be happy to recommend that we grant the full amount of this grant of £1,534, and I believe Councillor Rebeck, you wanted to second this one.
Sorry, microphone. Yeah, that would be appreciated, convener. I just know how valuable this work is, as other members will hear. I'm sure the ISP at Bertha Park do fantastic work, and I feel this should be supported in entirety. Thank you.
Okay. And Bailey Ahern, do you have a question here?
Thank you. Yeah, whilst I support this, can I just confirm that Bertha Park High School, the catchment area falls within the city centre? Because I believe it's outside of the city centre ward.
We come on to an issue that I was going to raise at the end, and I will discuss it more fully at the end, and that is the matter of the geographical boundaries of the Common Good Fund. But my view is that Bertha Park is very much perceived as being, you know, a part of the city, and we should be, you know, I think the majority of people who are living at Bertha Park would consider themselves part of the city, and they would find it odd to be excluded. And ahead of bringing forward a paper in the new year with regard to the boundaries of the Common Good Fund, that's the basis I'm proceeding on here.
Thank you. I know you've brought it up in the past about the Bertha Park and the boundaries, but I just, you know, when it's 32, it says here there's 32 or 30 of the young people from the Common Good area. I just wondered, that's a common good area that you want to have in the future, not currently.
I think the figure included here is 30 youngsters from the common good area as we perceive it now, even though the school is out with our area. Okay, but as I said, I'll say a little bit more about that informally at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Can we then agree that we'll make that grant of £1,534? Agreed. Sorry, Sheila. Yes, please come in with comment.
No, I was just going to say, I do know that when Bertha Park first opened up, their catchment area was indeed from Perth and from the common good area, and I still think there are some children that go there from the common good area already. But my reading of this was that the ISP provision, the children were being sent from, from the city as well. But Councillor Rebick may have a better handle on that than me. But when I read it, I certainly felt content that they'd taken into account the current common good area and had based their application on that.
Thank you, Sheila. John, do you want to come in again?
Yes, please. Councillor McCall's absolutely right. The nature of intensive support provision is not related to the normal catchment area of a school necessarily. And if the papers are telling us that 30 of the 32 come from Perth Common Good area, that's entirely possible. So happy to take that at face value.
Thank you for that. Are we then agreed that we make the grant of £1,534? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on then to the proposals under the cost of living grants monies. We have an application from Giraffe, who are seeking £4,500 towards their project delivering Christmas meals to people in need. Giraffe is a charity that aims to help people with severe and complex barriers such as learning disabilities, autism and mental ill health to make the transition towards inclusion, socialisation and, if appropriate, into meaningful work. They achieve this by providing relevant supported work experience, vocational skills and personal development. And I think we all in our lives as councillors have experienced the work that Giraffe do. They are requesting £4,500 from us. And again, I would like to recommend that we make that full grant of £4,500. And do I have a seconder for that proposal?
Yeah, happy to second.
Okay. I'll take Carol this time as the formal second. I know she's been anxious to get in before, and welcome to your first Common Good meeting, Carol. Thank you. You're on the edge of my vision, having moved up one seat. Thank you.
Could I just ask?
Yes, please do.
What have we awarded in the past?
I believe we have awarded to Giraffe in the past, but not, if you like, not under this category, because this category is something that we've only introduced in the last period since COVID. Please come in, Liz.
Thank you. It's just a question. I did notice that actually when we were looking at the small grants, we didn't have notes on what people had received in the past either. We did used to have that information. It is useful to just give us a pattern. Thank you.
Yes, I had noticed that, and perhaps I was secretly hoping that no one else would notice, but it's something I intend to bring back for future meetings. Yep, no, we did used to do it. I think it's helpful, and I will seek to ask for it again in the future.
Thank you, Convener.
Moving on then, we move on to the Inchview Primary School pantomime trip. Inchview Primary School are seeking a grant of £4,235 to fund a school trip to the pantomime. I think that whilst I am supportive of this, I'm not sure that the pantomime trip is, if you like, a matter of huge need. It is in some degree a nice to have, but I recognise that it may be an important element for many of the children at Inchview Primary School, and in being asked to consider an award in line with criteria 9.8, I was going to I am recommending that we grant them 2/3 of the sum that they're looking for, that being £2,825 as opposed to the full £4,235. Do I have a seconder for that, or are there any amendments? Seconder from Count Bailey Ahern. Councillor Peter Barrett.
Yeah, Convener, I'd like to put forward an amendment. I am kind of conscious of, I think, issues of equity and timing, and I think the £4,000 or £5,500 is a big chunk out of the cost of living a budget. So I think we've also got to take account of the criteria and what they say. I think it would probably be fairer to apply both the criteria for 9.8 and 9.7, and therefore make an award of £1,000 under each, which would be a total of £2,000. So that's what I would like to propose.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have a seconder for that amendment?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Liz Barrett. Councillor Rebick, you want to make comment?
Yeah, thanks, Convener. I think I will complicate matters further, but I know from memory, many schools in Ward 11 have asked for panto money and they've gotten 40%. So I don't want to confuse anything further with the second amendment, but it feels like the normality would have them getting 40% of the grant, I think. No idea.
I'm just looking at the our rules. We don't actually have any formal rules against the cost of living grants applications. Our guidelines only relate to the small grants and the capital grants, but
I think it is fair to say that I'm referring to the criteria that would normally be applied under small grants and not the cost of living fund.
And indeed, there it says under 9.2, up to a maximum of 40%, where no entry fee is payable by the public, and up to 40% in other cases. Do you want to propose a further amendment?
No, thank you.
Councillor Eric Drysdale.
Thank you, Convener. Can I just clarify under 8.11? We're seeing there in that the proposal is around panto tickets at £11 times 385, and interval snacks £300 funded by. Am I taking it that the £300 interval snacks are funded by the parent council, basically, because there's no way they're going to get 385 snacks for £300. So therefore we are being asked to fully fund the cost of the tickets.
Yes, that's my understanding. That the parent council are funding the snacks associated with the venture, and we are being asked to fund all of the tickets.
So would the consequences be of not fully funding this as requested be that some kids get to go and some kids don't?
That might be a consequence. I'm not sure we're entirely able to say that, because I would hope that they would they might choose to, if you like, subsidise each ticket and seek contributions, or make their own arrangements within the school. But certainly that outcome is one that might be possible.
Okay, in which case, can I propose another amendment?
Yes.
Which is that on this occasion, that we do fully fund this, rather than cause such difficulties at this time, so close to no doubt when they're intending to go to the performance. If I can get a seconder, I don't know.
Is there a seconder for Andy?
I'd like to second it, yeah.
Okay, Councillor McPherson on this occasion is seconding it. Okay, in that case, I think we move to a more complex vote here, and Adam, if you'd guide us through it, thank you.
You've withdrawn your, yeah, okay. Thanks, convener. Okay, so we have two amendments put forward. So the way understanding orders, we put the two amendments against each other, and the winner then goes on to face the motion. So with the first amendment we have is from Councillor Peter Barrett, seconded by Councillor Liz Barrett, which is to award £2,000. They have a second amendment proposed by Councillor Drysdale, seconded by Councillor McPherson, which is to fully fund the award of £4,235. When I call your name, members, if you can indicate whether you're voting for the first amendment or the second amendment. Bailey Ahern.
Abstain.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
First Amendment.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
First Amendment.
Councillor Chan.
Abstain.
Councillor Donaldson.
Abstain.
Councillor Drysdale.
Second Amendment.
Councillor McPherson.
Second Amendment.
Councillor Mayor.
Second Amendment.
Councillor Massey.
Abstain.
Councillor McCall.
Second Amendment.
Deputy Provost Barrett.
Second Amendment.
Finally, Councillor Ribbeck.
Abstain.
I have 2 votes for the First Amendment, 5 votes for the Second Amendment, with 5 abstentions. So the Second Amendment will carry. Up against now the motion. Same again, members, when I call your name, if you can indicate whether you're voting for the motion or the amendment. Bailey Ahern.
Motion.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Motion.
Councillor Chan.
Motion.
Councillor Donaldson.
Abstain.
Councillor Drysdale.
Amendment.
Councillor McPherson.
Amendment.
Councillor Mayor.
Amendment.
Councillor Massey.
Motion.
Councillor McCall.
Amendment.
Deputy Provost Barrett.
Motion.
And Councillor Ribbeck.
Motion.
I have 6 votes for the motion, 5 votes for the amendment, with 1 abstention. Therefore, the motion will carry.
Thank you very much for that. We now move on then to the capital grants, and the first matter before us is the 5th Perth Rainbows and Brownies, who are seeking a grant of £154.85 to purchase high visibility vests so that they can attend trips and events. In common with our normal criteria here, £38.71 is consistent with those criteria, but this is such a small amount for what is a relatively important provision that I think we should make the full provision in this respect of £155. Do I have a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Okay, Councillor Liz Barrett was in first there. Do we have any all amendment proposed? Can we agree that we give the 5th Perth Brownies £154.85? Agreed, thank you. Moving on then now to the Kinnoul Tennis Club. Kinnoul Tennis Club are applying for £15,000 towards improvements to their facilities. Kinnoul Tennis Club is one of the oldest in Scotland. the club provide 4 outdoor courts and have a successful record in local competitive leagues. They have a vision to provide the best tennis facilities in Perth, open to all residents and visitors to the city. This is the funds they are applying are only a small part of a very large project in their terms that they have ongoing to completely renew their facilities and enable them to offer facilities to the community. So I think it's a very laudable application. However, again, in view of the amounts that we have available overall to the capital fund, I would like very much to consider or make the request £15,000, but something tells me that's just a little too much, and I would propose that we make them a grant of £10,000 here. Do I have a seconder for my proposal? Councillor Chan to second that. Councillor Rebeck, you want to come in? Sorry.
Yeah.
Councillor McCall, do you have a question just now?
Yeah, I'm not sure this is a small grant. This feels more like a capital grant to me. And I'm just looking for some clarity as to whether or not it's in the right category.
It is a capital grant, Sheila. We're on capital grants.
Are we?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see it in the heading on the paper. It just went seamlessly from one to the other. Maybe I missed it. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, perhaps I should have been more definitive in saying that we were on to capital grants, but we are.
Yeah, 7.5 was the small grant, and then it went straight on to 7.6 was the start of the Canoe Tennis Club. So it didn't say capital grants. It's all under the one heading. So, okay, but that's fine. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, thank you. I did have a second for that. Councillor Peter Barrett.
Yeah, thanks, convener. I thought it was kind of surprising that sports vests were considered capital, but there you go. I think given the balance of the capital budget, and even awarding this in full would still leave significant amount of a resource to support other capital projects, and given the time of the year, I'd be very happy to move the recommendation of the report in the 15,000.
Happy to second that as well.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay.
I mean, in seconded that because I had stuff
please do.
comment in as well, and I think that we're well aware that the benefits to people's health and well-being that comes about through sport, and just because I'm a football man doesn't mean to say I don't think the same about tennis. But the other thought that occurred to me when you were speaking is I think you, without patronising you too much, I think you take your duties as a custodian of the Common Good Fund as convener very seriously, and I think you intuitively wanted to award £15,000 anyway, but proprietary, yes, indeed, but proprietary stopped you doing that. So the fact that you're able to not to be parochial, something which I'm not able to manage quite as well always, means that I would quite like to back Councillor Barrett's proposal, because I think I'm ahead. That's probably backing what you really want as well. So that was a long way of saying a second Councillor Barrett's of 15 grand.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rebeck. Yes, I am. As I said in introducing this item, I would have liked to, but I do as convener feel a responsibility for the safeguarding of our funds and caution in applications. But put bluntly, I welcome the amendment. Councillor Drysdale.
A bit late for a question at this stage, but never mind. Again, just looking at the table at 7.11 there and how it's set out, would I be correct in making an assumption that the £135,000 cost of the undersurface access path and drainage and the courts is fully funded from other sources, including the members and so on, and that we are being asked to fully fund the existing lighting, the replacement of the existing lighting with LED?
Yes, this is a large project, which, if you like, is is underway, and the last bit of that project, which we are being asked to fund, is the lighting component of it, which was something that was put in, I know, later on, because, if you like, they had information that initially they weren't going to replace the lighting, but it was suggested to them if the lighting could be included in the project, they would then be able to put in all the underground cabling, which would enable the project to be completed for the long term without, if you like, the surfaces then having to be lifted at some short-term stage in the future when the lighting would probably need to be replaced.
Yeah, thank you. That being the case, and thanks for the clarification. And I think both from an energy efficiency and the green point of view, and from the point of view of this capital project itself, I think this makes perfect sense, and I would support Councillor Barrett's amendment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'm in that case, I'll just test the waters. I did have a seconder for the motion, so Adam, if we can go to the vote. I think I know which way I'll go then. Thank you.
Thanks, convener. We have a motion proposed by yourself, seconded by Councillor Chan, which is to award £10,000. We have an amendment by Councillor Peter Barrett, seconded by Councillor Ribbeck, which is to award the full amount of £15,000. When I call your name, if you can indicate whether you're voting for the motion or the amendment. Bailey Ahern.
Amendment.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Chan.
Motion.
Councillor Donaldson.
Abstain.
Councillor Drysdale.
Amendment.
Councillor McPherson.
Motion.
Councillor Mayor.
Amendment.
Councillor Massey.
Amendment.
Councillor McCall.
Amendment.
Deputy Provost Barrett.
Motion.
And Councillor Ribbeck.
Amendment.
We have 3 votes for the motion and 8 votes for the amendment with 1 abstention. Therefore, the amendment will carry.
Thank you very much. And just if I may, in response to Councillor Peter Barrett, the capital grants section does in the criteria specifically include equipment for clubs. So I was taking this under that heading of equipment. Okay, thank you for that. We now move on to the final grant that we're looking at. This is the Buttons and Bows Baby Bank, to which Councillor Massey has declared an interest and left the room. Buttons and Bows Baby Bank are seeking £4,000 to improve their referral system. The aim of the Baby Bank is to help alleviate child and family poverty in Perth and Kinross by supporting parents and families with children 0 to 6 years in times of need by providing free baby essentials such as baby food, nappies, equipment, clothes and toys with a mix of new and second-hand goods. I note that a grant of £2,340 is again consistent with the relevant criteria 10.3. But I note that they are looking for applications from other areas as well, and I am minded here. I think the sums are such that I'm minded here to recommend that for this, what I see as an important project, and I think we're all familiar with the work of Buttons and Bows. I would recommend that we make a grant of the £4,000 that they're looking for, and have a seconder for that.
Happy to second.
Thank you. I think nearly everyone was seconding. That's good. Do we have any questions, comments, or any amendment? No. No. We'll keep it to the 4,000. Can we agree the £4,000? Thank you very much. Moving on, we now move to item 6, that being the, thank you, John, that being the financial statement. And I believe Alison O'Brien has been waiting in the wings to introduce the financial statement. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, convener. This report provided for noting the details of the income and expenditure for the fund to 30th September 2024 and the projected outturn for the current financial year. Since the August committee, the projected deficit in the region of 34,000 has changed to a small surplus of £233, mainly due to the projected underspend of 25,000 on Moncrief Island this year, with expenditure moving to the next financial year. Previously, capital grants were anticipating an overspend of 12,000 if all financial assistance was approved, but that was not the case at the last meeting. The estimated balance at 31st March 25 of 2,054,000 is a movement of 34,000 since the last report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Alison. Does anyone have any questions with regard to the financial statement? Councillor Liz Barrett.
It's not a question for Alison, it's more of a question for yourself, convener. I see that we have now paid the money for Perth and Southern Round Table for the fireworks, and that took place. Could I please ask if we could have information from them on how much of that money was spent on low noise fireworks, because we did discuss that in the context of the grants last year and I think the year before. So just like to see what progress is being made in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. I can see Sarah scribbling furiously now, so we will seek to have that information furnished in due course. Thank you. And it's probably of note saying my reading suggests that the round table is struggling to stay together, so to speak, and that they may not be in a position next year to run the firework display. So we may not be finding in ourselves of having a firework display to support. If that event arises, then of course we will perhaps look at alternative beneficiaries from the money that has hitherto been made available for that. Does anyone have any further questions? Any questions for Alison on the finances? I see none. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for presenting the report, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the formal business. I did say I would mention the matter of boundaries. This is actually a fairly complicated issue, and as I said, I do intend to bring a paper to the next meeting of the Common Good, but I'll just outline. We have had a couple of meetings with regard to looking at the boundaries. The boundaries that we presently use are simply the present ward boundaries that delineate the city fairly satisfactorily. But that's, if you like, entirely at the whim and fancy of the local government boundary commissioners, who may in the future, at a review, choose different boundaries that do not, in a sense, so closely delineate Perth City. I thought we needed to be proactive because we have already had questions as to what regards what do we count as the city. We have found out that the original boundaries, the strictly legal boundaries that relate back to 1975, would draw a very, very close lines and would define the city in a way that we simply don't recognise today. There would be houses on Butte Drive that are within the city, and there would be houses that are without the city. The same would pertain to large chunks of the western edge. And so, given that situation, I am asking for a paper to be brought forward that, if you like, includes those strictly legal boundaries from 1975, the boundaries of the old Perth urban district prior to 1975, the present ward boundaries that we use, but also, if you like, including the boundary of the settlement boundary that is used for the local development plan. And given that I believe there is no easily identifiable answer to the matter of the boundaries, I will be presenting a paper which I hope will gain support, where we will have a map that will show the selection or include all of what I would regard as the relevant boundaries. And it will then be, if you like, for members to use their discretion against applications to decide themselves, if you like, what is or is not inside. We have moved, the strict advice is that perhaps we should stick to the legal boundaries from 1975. But we are 50 years on from 1975. There is a very different view of what the city of Perth is these days. And I believe that we are all amply sensible enough on the provision of a map that shows relevant boundaries to make our own decisions as to what pertains against any particular application. And we will be looking to introduce that paper at a meeting in the new year, and at that time I would ask you for support for that. Thank you very much. Does anyone want to make any comment just now? Chris Ahern.
Yes, it's just to, I agree with your assumptions there, and I agree we need to look at it. Can I just make sure that since there are strict legal guidelines around common good funds in Scotland, and some of the regulations are through the Scottish Government, can I check that when the paper comes, it has been passed through and we make sure that we're legally allowed to do it under the Scottish Government rules?
Yeah, yes, we will look at that. I suppose the only thing I would say is that certainly since I've been in the council since 2015, we have been using boundaries different from those, and nobody has actually raised any question. But since we're looking formally at it, I think we should look at whether there is any thing that ties us, having chosen to look at it.
It's not the boundaries I'm questioning; it's the use of the common good fund and what is laid down in statute with regards to the common good fund.
We will look at that, thanks. Any other? Councillor Peter Barrett.
Thanks, convener. Kind of my memory stretches back a wee bit further than yours to about 2003, and I've never had any questions as to whether the expansion of Perth into the western edge or the full boundary of North Muirton was ever in question. So I hope that we can adopt a similarly flexible and sensible attitude to the expansion of the city. As the city grows, there's I think should be a clear understanding of what comprises the city boundary. I just didn't really understand what you were saying in terms of whether we're going to pick and choose. I hope that we've kind of draw a border on a map, and everything within the border counts as the new Perth city, and everything outside of it doesn't.
Yes, I'm hoping that we will find that, if you like, I'm sure this is the case, that we can use our discretion and we are not legally bound, as Baillie Ahern says, because if we have, then we've done a lot wrong over the past years. I can't believe that's the case, but I believe the dispersers of the common good funds are entitled to use their common sense and sense, if you like, in looking at that. But we will look at that issue. I wasn't, in fact, proposing initially, certainly, to present, if you like, one version of the truth. I was intending that moving forward, we would have one map which would have on it those different boundaries used for different purposes, since there is no statutory definition of the city, and it would be for members to use their own judgment against particular applications. Because I can't find any way of, if you like, rationalising one boundary as opposed to another. But if perhaps we can bring forward that paper at the next meeting in the new year, and we can perhaps have a discussion around whether the Common Good Fund Committee at the moment wants, against that map showing differing versions of the city of Perth, wants to, if you like, adopt a single boundary as our guideline for use going forwards. Thanks.
just to be careful about, what that would do in terms of the composition of this committee if we started including bits which weren't with city centre wards.
Yes, indeed, that is that is an issue, and I think we have to sort of look at that in due course. But again, to me, the ward boundaries that we currently use are entirely a fortuitous accident of the boundary commissioner's decisions that don't really relate to the common good fund at all. Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, convener. I think this has more general implications potentially. I'm aware the legislative position is quite complex, even convoluted. I'm not sure who you're going to refer to. I would assume with legal it would be Jeff Fogg and possibly Andrew Ferguson, who did the review, an excellent review it was too, of common good fund assets across Perth and Kinross, and really at quite low cost. But I do think, if you were to expand the common good area for Perth, that potentially has a knock-on effect, perhaps not massive, with one or two other areas. And I just wonder if there's a case for a more general review. I could think one area in particular with Crieff, which doesn't come under the community council area, but could, I think, should fit in with common good fund area, even though it's not a large fund like Perth. But I think we need not just Perth, but an overall consideration of the position. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Donaldson. Yes, I think you may well be right, but my remit extends as far as the Perth Common Good Fund, and I think it's for the other common good funds that are relevant to the local authority that we're in to come to their own determination on those matters. Thank you. Okay, if we have no further business, thank you very much for your attendance and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.